Ladies and gentlemen, it is I, Alternus, back again. I know that the fans and talent going into the exit of Rebellion, UCW's last event, wanted to watch all the action. Regretfully and with a heavy heart, I must inform you, the viewers, that the Rebellion footage was corrupted due to a power failure during the main event of that show. What I am able to do is give you a slight recap and say that we will work to fix this from happening again in the future. Alright, so let's get right on into it. Alright, so the first match was James the Cowboy Hunter versus Damien Sick. Now the Cowboy, I believe he had it easy this night. Damien Sick obviously wasn't in the match. He showed up, but he left some things at home, namely his brutal brawler style of wrestling. He switched it up for a more grappling heavy submission style. So James Hunter, who he grapples as well, wasn't having it, and of the two, clearly had more experience in the style. So when it came down to brass tacks, James the Cowboy Hunter just had a technical advantage over Damien Sick. So unfortunately for Sick, you lost, bud. Maybe next time. But James Hunter, you did good. This is not your first rodeo, and your Bronco busted your way into a victory. Congratulations. The second match of the card was a match of power and passion. This was Billy Dupree versus the Demon, the Dark One, Night Stalker. Now let's air this out, okay? Right here, right now. This wasn't the longest match. This wasn't going to be a match of the night. This wasn't a high-flying match. This was a match about revenge, redemption. This was interesting. This is two big guys slugging it out, trying to hurt each other as much as they could. Billy Dupree came out ahead. As he walked out the ring, he just said, "Some people aren't worth saving." You know, this is something that I hope that he can live with. Because I'm telling you right now, if you think that Night Stalker's going to just let him get away with that, he's got another thing coming. You know, he came out for blood. Night Stalker didn't get the blood. Billy Dupree drew first blood, so let's see. But rumor has it that, some things are circulating around. I might have some footage from Night Stalker himself come next week that I can share with the fans, so stay tuned. Might be hearing from the Demon. Alright, now we go on to the first tag match of the night with Cash Money versus the Rolling Sons of Thunder. Cash Money in UCW. Do I have to say anything else? Do I have to say more? I mean, come on now. It goes, what a big debut that they had in UCW against TJ Trucker and Chains of all people. Now this is not the normal tag for Rolling Sons of Thunder, but TJ Trucker and Chains do have a past together. But unfortunately, when going against a veteran team like Cash Money, who have been working together for years, you need to have that connection as a tag team, and just TJ Trucker and Chains just didn't have it. It was clear that they weren't 100% there. They didn't know when to help each other out. They didn't know the signs that like, all right, his chain and the armor starting to chink a little bit. He's starting to go down. I need to go in there and help him out. It just wasn't that. There was a lot of and what Cash Money was able to do was they were able to utilize the the knowledge that they had of each other, and they could separate the two. And that's exactly what they did. They separated TJ Trucker and Chains from each other. You had Chains in the outside with T-Cash, while you had in the ring TJ Trucker and T-Money. And they had confidence in each other's abilities to handle their opponents. And that separation led to the downfall of the Rolling Sons of Thunder. But when it comes down to it, I mean, these people, they have the perfect blend of speed from T-Cash and that power from T-Money. I'll tell you right now, T-Cash, T-Money, Cash Money. Come see it all day, every day, baby. Now, going into the next match, we had Adrian Davis defending the Octane title versus Cell. Now, as you remember, Cell in the opening match of Red, Black, and Blue, he won the four-way match, which gave him this title shot today. And I'll tell you right now, just as I called it, Cell took it home to Davis. He wore Davis out. Up and down, up and down, up and down. I'm telling you. But something happened. After a devastating DDT that shook the entire arena, the announcers called it. They were shocked. The fans were beginning to stand at this point. You had Damien Sick of all people, after a controversy with Cell, came out to support his friend. During that time, Cell turned away from Adrian Davis, who was out cold. Adrian Davis was able to recuperate, and you don't turn your back against Adrian Davis. You have to have your head in the game at all times, or it's game over. Don't you know this? So, but again, I called it. Adrian Davis did get his ass beat from one end of that ring to the other. But the bottom line is that Adrian Davis walked out the Octane champion again. Next month, he is going against Damien Sick. And it's one of those things that I'm telling you right now, Sick's gunning for you. There are no continues left. What you gonna do? Alright, next match we have Darkness versus Dakota Hayes. Now, Dakota Hayes has a rather checkered past in UCW. He, as an athlete, you can see where he is improving. He's trying to find his way. He's trying to find his foothold. He is getting better. People are cheering for him this time around. Darkness coming out, and he's 50 Shades of Black. I'm telling you that right now. His soul is coal. You know, the Grinch fears him. That's Freddy Krueger has nightmares of this man. Darkness is a creature from some kind of dimension. Maybe Dimension 13, I don't know. But anyway, we're going to talk about this. Dakota Hayes surprisingly held his own. And if Darkness was anything less than some kind of immortal entity, then I would say that Dakota Hayes might have won this match. In times, it looks like he did. But bottom line is, Darkness shows his true nature, the true demonic evil that he is. And he showed him what lurks in the dark. He showed young Hayes things that he had never seen before, because anyone has ever watched Darkness in that ring knows that Darkness is going to pull some things out of some kind of imaginary head that the great Houdini couldn't. And I'm telling you right now, another time, another life, Hayes, you would have walked out the victor. But unfortunately, that night, Darkness was your opponent, and then you got what you got. Then, for the semi-main event, because RWO wasn't there again, because there was no one for them to fight. So they needed a number one contender for this match. And as I called it, it was going to be 4 tag teams in a match to determine who was going to face RWO coming up in September. So, as I stated in the first podcast, that I didn't know who was going to be in it, but I knew that the division was going to be one of the teams. There's no doubt. And true to life, the division was there. The division came out, and their teams were the team of Trip and Smooth. That is Trip and LA Smooth, who are an unorthodox team, but they came together to give it a shot to see if they had a chance to win this. Then you had the Soldiers of Apocalypse. Now, this is a team of Tank Abrams and William Larcey, who replaced Justin Hollywood in True Hollywood Heroes, rebranded, reprocessed, and I might say even more vicious than True Hollywood Heroes could ever have become. Now, the big surprise of all, the biggest surprise of the night, in my opinion, was Instant Heat. Instant Heat back in UCW, and what a rush. Instant Heat came out and the whole place erupted. It was amazing to see them here, and I hope to see them many, many, many more times. Now, on with the match. Now, as excited as I was to see Instant Heat, I have to back my boys, the division, up, because they came out and they showed everyone what was boss. They came out, and it seemed like within minutes they had taken out Trip and Smooth, who wasn't having it, who came back for some retribution. But yes, it was because basically Trip and Smooth, they were on the same page. I'm not saying that they couldn't be a great tag team, but right now you're not going to come together and say, "Hey, you wanna go out there and try to go for this? Yeah, let's do this." Shake hands, write your name down on the card, and then get approved and come out against veterans like the Division, for crying out loud, and actually have a chance. Nah, it's not happening. So they were the first eliminated by the Division, and then later on, you had the Soldiers of Apocalypse. They had went back and forth with the Division. They had went back and forth with Instant Heat. They were vicious. They were viral. They were savages out there, and you had to love it. You had to love it. But the bottom line is that you had Tank Abrams, who was taking it to him. You had William Larcey that was taking it to him. But when it came down, Instant Heat just flat out were better. They were better. They're a more competent team than this fledgling team still. And then in the end, it was the Division again who went over on Soldiers of the Apocalypse, who eliminated them from the match, leaving undoubtedly the two teams that were going to be here. The two teams that were going to be in the race for the number one contender. The Division, Instant Heat, pound for pound, blow for blow. The electricity was in the air. The excitement was there. The fans were in it. The commentary was in it. The backstage was in it. If you had people driving down the block that would turn their heads saying, "What's going on in there?" because the whole building was shaking. And I'm telling you right now, it was exciting. It could have went either way, and I would have been happy. But my boys, the Division, came out on top, eliminating not one, not two, but all three of the teams. If they can eliminate 3 teams in one night, simultaneously in one match, what hope does RWO have in September? Now, I'm not going to knock the Common Man and James Houston for what they are. They are the champions, and they got there because they are the best at the time. Now the division is going to come in, and we're going to see what Justin Chambers and what Jeremy Cruz can do. These two men right here, I'm telling you, they're going to walk out. They're going to walk out there in September, and they quite possibly, almost 100%, 100% this time, will walk out with gold. That is my prediction. But now, let's get into the main event. Now, the main event was between Hunter, the Wrestling Saint Young, and his mystery opponent for the night, which turned out to be Kevin Kurgan. Now, here's what I believe. If you're a champion in UCW, you have a bar that you have to go past, you have to surpass. And to me, that bar starts with Kevin Kurgan. Kevin Kurgan will show you whether you have what it takes to be a champion or not. And that's exactly what Hunter Young came out to prove, was that he was a champion. After the last show, when he regretfully got a bullshit call over Christian Fury, Hunter Young had something to prove. And with Kevin Kurgan, I'm telling you, it was back and forth. It looked like Kurgan had the upper hand, because Kevin Kurgan, he is this street brawler. He is a man with, he's like the living embodiment of the Hulk, for crying out loud. He can tap into rage unseen, and he comes out tougher and tougher and tougher, forged by his rage, if you want to call it that. And you have Hunter, the Wrestling Saint Young, who has had an uphill climb. It is steadily uphill with Hunter Young. He has made a name for himself, but since he's become the champion, he's become rather cocky, with flips and showboating, going up on the ring, posing, flexing, and it's one of those things that he learned real quick tonight. That, you can do all that. All that is nice for show, but Kevin Kurgan, every time that Hunter Younger did it, he put him flat on his ass. Every freaking time. There was a flip, boom, Kevin Kurgan laid him out. It was something impressive, I tell you. Now, in the end, Hunter Young beat Kevin Kurgan. It was flat out clean. And that's why I'm saying he met the bar. So congratulations, Hunter Young. You're a champion. Enjoy it. I'm glad that you were able to prove yourself this time. But afterwards, Hunter Young was in the ring. He was celebrating. Anyone who's ever watched a Hunter Young match knows that he goes around. He takes selfies with the fans. He shakes hands. He, kisses babies. All that kind of crap, whatever. Kevin Kurgan had already left. It's not like he had beaten Kevin Kurgan senseless. He won a match. Then you had him leaving, and right when he is leaving, out of nowhere comes Christian Fury, and he utterly destroys Hunter Young, proceeding to wipe his ass with that UCW title and Hunter Young. It was something to behold. Now, afterwards, Hunter Young, pissed off, I can see why, he goes back in that ring and he issues a challenge. He wants Fury, and he doesn't want a foot on a rope, as an excuse for a reason why he can't win. In fact, unlike Hunter Young, he doesn't want any rules at all, which means that he wants to hurt the man. He wants to hurt Christian Fury. So he wanted to throw all the rules out, and CD Bean in typical Bean fashion, because, Hunter Young's his boy. sit there and say, you know what, that sounds like a great idea. You got it. Okay, Bean, let me tell you something, alright? I've heard of biased people, but you know, to sit there and know that this man wants to flat out injure another wrestler, especially one as prestigious as Christian Fury, that's bullshit, man. Come on. So, here's what it is. Here's what it is, boys and girls. The stage is set. The stage is set. And I was able to meet with both Fury and Young. And here's what they had to say.
Did you see that out there? I wrecked him. So you want last man standing? I was the last man standing. I wrecked him. Next month, I'm going to wreck him again for the UCW Championship. There's no games no more, buddy. What you going to do about it? My kingdom. Mine.
There he is. Hunter Young. Hunter Young. Your sire, your king, and his kingdom just assaulted you. He issued a challenge. You accepted. What do you feel about this? How are you going to respond to this?
I'll see you next month.
Well, there we go.
Now after that, you know where they're coming from. You know what's going to go on. And I'm telling you right now, it goes, you see Hunter Young and you see him pissed off. I've never seen him this pissed off before. But for any of you non-believers out there in Christian Fury, non-believers that have never watched this man wrestle, that hasn't watched his career take off and soar and watch what this man does in the ring, then you just don't know that this is exactly what Christian Fury wanted. And Hunter Young, if you're listening, you're falling into his trap. Because Christian Fury, what he does is he goes out there and he finds out what makes you tick. And then what he does is that he goes down and then piece by piece he strips that mental armor away from you until you're vulnerable. And then he proceeds to beat you physically and mentally. And what we're seeing Hunter Young right now is this is mental warfare. Mental warfare. We're seeing him, and I'm calling it right now. When September rolls around, he's going to be pissed off. And before this match is up, I'm telling you right now, Hunter Young is going to have his mental armor stripped away because he's letting Christian Fury get inside his head. And that's one of the things, one of the advantages that a year ago when Christian Fury was the UCW champion, that Justin Chambers, before he went on to become the badass that he is and join the division, when he was going against Christian Fury, is Christian Fury couldn't get into his head because Justin Chambers wasn't allowing it. Now I don't know if it was because he had stones in his brain at the time, or if it's just that he was that mentally shielded because they had a long history together. But Hunter Young, on the other hand, has already proven himself vulnerable. Now this is what's going to change Hunter Young in the future, because I'm telling you right now, after this, Hunter Young is never going to be the same. Now, with all that being said, we have the new event. We have live coming at you Saturday, September 22nd. Bell time, 7 p.m. The doors open at 6 p.m. We have Dead End. And as we know for a fact, we're going to have Christian Fury versus Hunter, the Wrestling Satan Young, for that UCW Championship once again. And it's going to be no holds barred. This is going to be an amazing match. If you missed the first one, do yourself a favor. Do not miss this match. Now, we also know that we're going to have the division there. We're going to have RWO there, and they're going to be going down for the title. And we have Adrian Davis, who has the unfortunate pleasure of stepping in the ring with Damian Sick. And we're going to see how sick of a time we're going to have that night. As far as I know, those are the only matches that are scheduled. Typical CD Bean fashion. He doesn't let us know ahead of time. So we'll see what's going on. As I learn stuff, you'll learn stuff. So be there. Again, that is at the American Legion 6390 Millage Road on September 22nd. That is a Saturday. The doors open at 6, bell time at 7 p.m. Do not miss this. This is an event for the year right here, people. You want to watch this. And that ends this episode, the second episode of Undisputed Worldwide. We have another one coming up soon. It will be on Livewire. You need to listen to this. I have an interview with the acting president himself, Ryan Reigns, who's going to be here. He's going to be answering some questions about Livewire, and he has given me a good portion of the matches that are going to be there. We're going to talk about that a little bit, and I'm going to tell you what I know, and he's going to tell you a little bit of why you should see this event. This event that's going to be September 1st. That is next Saturday, September the 1st. And you're going to want to see that. I will have all the details there, ticket locations, where you can buy them, where you can get them. If you haven't had a flyer online, they have a Facebook page. It is Livewire Wrestling. Join the CSRA Wrestling Fans page. That is sponsored by Livewire Wrestling in conjunction with Pro Wrestling Bushido. And they've even allowed UCW a part of the page. It is there for the fans. It is there for the people to show all the information and their love about this sport that we all care so dearly about. So be patient, stay tuned, and I'll have another one for you in the next couple days. Livewire is